Militarily Speaking, episode 14. Lori Simmons, Vice President and Chief Growth Officer with Armed Forces Insurance, right here in the Leavenworth community. Jodi?
Yes, this episode we talk with Lori Simmons.
So welcome to Militarily Speaking, brought to you by Armed Forces Bank. This is Tom McLean and my pretty good co-host, Jodi Vickery.
On a good day.
Hello.
Yeah. Any random things before I introduce our guest?
Now,
okay.
Hey, Lori, I might do a couple jokes later. Is that okay? Just stupid, insurance jokes. Is that all right?
I love jokes.
All right. Well, good. Well, I'll intertwine them through the conversation, okay?
Perfect. She is your enabler now. All right. Again, welcome to our show, Lori. We're excited to have you here today and with our audience listening and learning about Armed Forces Insurance. We're going to maybe shorten that to AFI every now and then. And also the Armed Forces Insurance Foundation and the support that you provide to military families. And we know.
You're going to do a little bio about her, a long bio, because she's so accomplished.
It's all good stuff.
Right.
And we know Lori, but our listeners may not. So Lori, as Tom mentioned, is the Chief Growth Officer of AFI and President of the AFI Foundation. She oversees corporate branding as well as directs Armed Forces Insurance's integrated new member sales, marketing, and public relations programs. She also serves as the company spokesperson. Lori and AFI share the same mission in so many ways. Our mission is you. And Lori's professional and personal life proves it daily through her work and deep commitment to the military community, which I think we'll hear a good bit about today. Lori serves as the president of Armed Forces Insurance's Foundation, which works to educate the military community on an array of personal financial topics. As a former military spouse, she is a passionate advocate for our nation's military families and plays an integral role in the Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year program. In addition to her work with the Armed Forces Insurance, Lori also has experience in running successful marketing initiatives for both education and leading defense contracting organizations. And there's more, Tom.
There is more. We're on page 2 now.
I know, I'm feeling inadequate. Lori is a member of several leading industry associations, including the Insurance Marketing and Communications Association, the Professional Insurance Communicators Association, NAMIC, and the Chamber of Commerce Military Affairs Council. She is on the board of advisors for the MilSPOU Project, a nonprofit dedicated to providing military spouses with the resources they need to succeed in business and in life. She also serves on the board of directors for the Armed Forces Insurance Agency and the National Veteran-Owned Business Association and on the Military Warriors Support Foundation Council. Lori serves on the Executive Council for the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, presented by ESPN. Her educational credits include a BS in Business Marketing from LaSalle University, as well as professional certifications in database marketing, digital marketing, direct marketing, and training and development from the University of Oklahoma. My daughter would love you, Lori. She on her behalf, I'd just say boomer. Yeah. She also holds an executive certification in internet marketing from St. Louis University. So with all of that,
so wait a minute.
I got to take a breath.
I wish she did something with her life, don't you?
I know. You got to get busy, Lori. That's a lot. But welcome. We're really happy that you've joined us today. And, we are very familiar with Armed Forces Insurance, but as we invite our audience throughout this to visit your homepage and learn about the mission, it really is powerful. Since 1887, you've been around just a little bit longer than Armed Forces, actually, Armed Forces Bank. You've existed with a single unwavering purpose to protect the people who protect our nation. I know you offer a full spectrum of insurance products, and our listeners can certainly read a great deal about them at www.afi.org. But to start, could you just tell us a little bit about what AFI provides kind of at a big picture level for military service members and their families?
Absolutely. And thank you again for that very nice intro. I apologize for it being so long. I should have cut that back.
You don't need to apologize. I think Tom and I are jealous, maybe.
We are jealous. That's why we're not going to continue with the podcast. Yeah.
Well, I'm really happy to be here and, tell your listeners a little bit more about AFI. I'm super proud to be a part of this organization. I've been with the company now for 20 years. This last time, I actually was on the marketing team prior to PCSing to lovely Fort Knox, Kentucky, several years ago. So glad to be back and doing great things for our military community. Armed Forces Insurance exclusively serves the military and those who serve the military. We are a property insurer, so we specialize and always have specialized in insuring automobiles, homes, and personal property. We have products for boats, motorcycles, all of the fun toys that our servicemen and women and their families have. But we do specialize in property insurance. And we do have eligibility requirements. We don't offer our insurance products to the general public. We serve the military and those who serve the military, which includes active duty, former retired veterans of all branches of service, including the National Guard, Reserves, and Coast Guard, active and retired Department of Defense and Veterans Affairs Department civilian employees. And one of the great things about Armed Forces Insurance's eligibility is that once you join as a member, your parents and your children are also included in your membership. So you can extend your membership to them and allow them to do business with the great company that we have.
That's fantastic. It goes up and down the family tree, it sounds like.
It does, yes.
No, that's great. And my husband also spent time at Fort Knox. Small world, yeah. That's where he retired. Yeah. That's where he retired out of.
I really loved Kentucky. It was an awesome place, especially if you like to be outdoors.
Did you ever go to the Derby when you were there?
I did. I volunteered with a not-for-profit. They allow not-for-profits to take care of some of the services there as a fundraiser. And unfortunately, I wasn't in a beautiful dress and a pretty hat sitting in the stands. I was in the muddy infield. It was a horrible rainy year that year. It was kind of a mud fest. But it was fun.
I guess we could have worn fancy hats today.
We could.
Had we known, we would have prepared.
Yes.
Yeah, no, a little aside about Fort Knox. But, Lori, I know AFI offers a lot of different insurance products. I think Tom and I are both really curious about which ones maybe are the most popular and how do service members or the different people attached to them that are eligible based on what you just shared with us, how do they engage with you to get a quote and understand what that might look like for them personally?
Yeah. So our most popular products, our most popular product really is homeowners insurance. That's the bread and butter of the company. That's what we were initially founded to support, homes and property. And so home, auto, and renter are probably the most popular products. Mm-hmm. We also, this is kind of I hate to say like the best kept secret. We need to do a better job about getting the word out. But we offer commercial insurance for veteran and military spouse owned businesses. And we don't write that business directly. We provide quotes back to veteran-owned businesses and mil spouse-owned businesses from some of our partner carriers in a network that we have access to. And one of the reasons why I feel like we need to get the word out more about that is some of the market research out there today shows that veteran-owned businesses feel underserved and underappreciated. And a lot of veterans, when they either retire or separate from the military, decide that entrepreneurship is the direction that they want to go. And insurance in that world can be even more daunting than it is in the personal world. So we do try to help our members who have businesses, but we also want to let that population know that even if they're not a member on the personal line side, we absolutely have options for them on the commercial side. Obviously, we're only one of the two insurers that exclusively serve our military. And one thing that sets us apart from others is that we shop your coverage needs for you through our network of national carriers to find the best solution for your needs. So, yes, Armed Forces Insurance has its own products, but through our agency, we have access to other national carriers that might have a better coverage or a better price given your situation. So we'd like to be your trusted advisor and do all of the homework for you. Again, we know that insurance can be, one of those kind of weird languages, if you will, the terms that we use. in the business are hard to understand sometimes. And so we really take it upon ourselves to make sure that our insureds understand the ins and outs of their policy and the ins and outs of their need based on location. We do write business in all states and DC.
Okay. We're going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah. And to get a quote, there's a couple of ways you can do that 24/7 on our website, which we said www.afi.org. You can actually get a real-time price on homeowner insurance. And some of the other lines, you don't get a price online, but all of the information that you enter in the quote form is transferred to one of our agents who will return a call immediately. We also have a renter's product online that we're really proud to say we have now the ability for someone to bind a policy online. So for those who are living in privatized housing, or if you rent off base and you're required to provide them with proof of insurance, you can actually go on our website, get a quote, see the price, tweak the coverages, make your payment, and get your proof of insurance within just a few minutes.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, we're really proud of that. I mean, that's something that we've been working on for quite some time and launched that this year. So, and I believe it's working because we have increased our renters' submissions online by about 300%.
Wow.
I'd say it is working. That's fantastic.
And Lori, you mentioned that best kept secret about the commercial insurance. That's great and we as a bank can help you in that regard too, because we deal with people that are starting businesses as veterans or military spouses, and knowing that you offer that and expanded your product reach, if you will, then that's awesome. And the one thing I wanted to say about renters insurance, that to me was a best kept secret when we worked with you a few years ago, knowing that, their uniform might be covered or, just to that level of specificity, that is a best kept secret, because you think of renters insurance, you just think about the four walls. You don't necessarily think about the personal items that could be included in that too. So is there anything specific you want to tell our listeners that how vast of a coverage that renters insurance has just beyond the premises?
Absolutely. Our package is bar none the best coverage out there on the market for the price. And I would challenge anybody to show me something different. With our renters package, we actually include perils that other insurance companies make you pay more for or get that coverage through an endorsement. So our renters package covers flood, mysterious disappearance. We have increased limits on firearms because we know that a lot of our military have gun collections and such. We also have coverage for government issued equipment. So for those soldiers who bring their Kevlar home or their belts or, anything that is government issued up to a certain amount, we will cover that on the renter's policy as well. And literally, you can get $30,000 worth of personal property coverage for around a couple $100 a year, and that can be separated out in a monthly payment. So it's very affordable and very necessary. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of our servicemen and women and their families who went on leave and forgot to turn their water off. And they ended up getting a leak and then coming back only to find everything flooded. And without the right coverage, none of that personal property is covered. One of the things that I talk about the most with our renters package is with those folks who live in privatized housing in particular. And I think this comes from way, way back, but back in the day, I guess the government used to provide a very minimal amount of property coverage before the privatized housing phase, came about, when the government actually did own their property.
Right.
And that was taken away years ago, like in the early 2000s, that went away. And so, the notion that the government is going to cover your property if something were to happen is totally false. And unfortunately, there's still some folks out there that believe that, and some of them, have had losses. We had one insured who, remember when the tornadoes went through Joplin?
Yep.
And did such devastating damage? Well, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, right outside of Rolla, was in that path. And a lot of damage was done at Fort Leonard Wood. And we had several insureds who had renter's insurance and were living in housing on post. And, the roof got torn off of several of the units.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, our insured, because they had coverage, could rest easy at night. Unfortunately, their neighbor did not have renter's coverage. And when the wind took the roof off, all of their property was damaged. Their couch, all of their furniture got water damage, and they lost everything. And so I tell that story frequently because, I think it's natural for all of us to say it'll never happen to me. But the fact of the matter is it could. And that's why you need to be covered so that you won't have that devastating experience.
Well said.
Absolutely, especially considering the rates that you shared. I mean,
yeah,
incredibly affordable.
Lori, can you tell us a little bit about the other services you offer at AFI too? I see that you have information about other resources on your website, such as Insurance 101. You got PCS, PTSD, fraud protection, some of the ancillary services that are important to service members that are eligible to work with you. And is there any comments you want to make about the other services?
I do. Thank you. At Armed Forces Insurance, our tagline is "Our mission is you." And we take that very seriously. In addition to helping veterans and their families find the best insurance options to fit their needs, we are also committed to providing a lot of resources that are non-insurance related, but very valuable and cover topics that are discussed frequently within our military community. So, much of the information that we share on our website that's non-insurance information, that actually comes from military support organizations who assist military families. It comes from our Military Spouse of the Year community. We solicit input from our social properties as well on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And so, a lot of those topics, we just really want to be a resource for our military community and let them know that, AFI is about putting them first, not just by offering good insurance products, but by caring about their life and their community.
I think we like to emulate those behaviors too as a bank too. It's easy just to offer products after products. It's pretty commoditized out there in your world and our world. But if you could do something different and look at the lifestyle, as Jodi says, walk in the boots, and we understand the military lifestyle, then you're making a better impact than just promoting products. So I love it.
Yeah, and I think kind of along those lines, Lori, something that I think ties our two organizations together is a deep history where we have both been passionate about giving back to the military community in a lot of different ways. I'd love for you to share sort of the heart of AFI with our audience about your policy of giving back to this community and ways that you act on that. I know before we started recording today, we were chatting about food drive activities that we're doing in crossover markets like at Fort Leavenworth. But what are some of those things that AFI does to give back that not everyone might know about, ways that you demonstrate kind of walking the walk?
Sure. Well, you're going to hear a common theme because in everything we think, say, and do, it's in the vein of our mission is you. We're all about relationships first and foremost, and we live through our actions, not just our words. And so supporting military families, obviously, is extremely important to us. We participate in an activity called Snowball Express, and this is a several-day event, typically in the first part of December, that is strictly for Gold Star families. And it is strategically placed around the holidays because that's a really hard time for anyone who has lost anyone, but particularly for our military families. It's an activity that the Gary Sinise Foundation organizes, and they take volunteers to work in resource rooms for these Gold Star families that attend, 2 or 3 years ago, they changed things up. We used to go to the DFW area and have all of these activities. And through the support of the Gary Sinise Foundation, it's actually taking place at Disney World now.
Yeah. Hey, Lori, I'll interrupt you for a second, but we just spent a great time with the Gary Sinise Foundation as a guest on our podcast. So,
Oh, wonderful.
And he talked about Snowball Express and his passion for that. And thank you for endorsing that program again, too, because it'll go well with the timing of our discussion today. So thank you for bringing that up.
Great. Glad to hear that. We also collaborate with an organization called Military Warrior Support Foundation. And this organization donates homes to wounded warriors. And they have this really cool initiative in conjunction with donating the home. So if you are selected, you and your family have to go through a several-month homeownership education course, which I think is amazing because, some folks who've served in the military have lived in privatized housing or government housing, their entire career. And they really don't know all of the ins and outs and what it takes to own a home and to take care of it. When something goes wrong with the plumbing, you don't put in a work order.
I do. I just do it with my husband. That's different.
Right. So, you have taxes you have to pay. If your roof needs fixed, you need to research someone, to come and fix the roof. And so there's a lot of education surrounding homeownership that some of us take for granted. And, they want to make sure that they position these military families in the best way possible so that they can be successful homeowners. We also provide insurance quotes on those homes. And that is part of our contribution to the program, in addition to, serving on their advisory board and, helping them out with a lot of the other fundraising initiatives that they have.
Right. Laura, I'm going to switch gears a little bit on you, but the AFI Affinity program, I think that's near and dear to your heart too, and you've probably brought that to life. Why don't you talk to our audience a little bit about that program?
I did. Thank you. That is actually the arm of what we do, where we have relationships with other partners who serve the military community in several different capacities, whether it's banks, mortgage companies, relocation services, realtors, any of those who serve our military and veteran families. And we offer our insurance products to their clients. And so one of the recent, we were talking about renter's insurance earlier. One of the recent partnerships that we have is with several privatized housing companies who obviously want their tenants to have renter's insurance. And so they are passing on our name and letting people know that they can, go online in particular and, get a quote and actually get proof of insurance that they can provide back to their military housing office.
Okay. I think we're hitting a lot of different topics. And another one that we want to make sure that we don't miss today is understanding more about the Insurance Foundation. I know you serve there as the president. And how is that distinguished from Armed Forces Insurance, the organization that we've been talking about? Can you tell us about the mission of the foundation and how the two work together?
Yes. So the Armed Forces Insurance Foundation is a not-for-profit that was set up with the mission of providing resources and information to our military families to promote better financial decisions. So we provide education sessions, workshops. COVID really hijacked us, and we used to do a lot of presentations and workshops in person. And then when COVID hit, we pivoted to the virtual world, and we actually did a lot of webinars, and that was really nice, particularly since, you can record them too, and then we can share them out as needed. And we are in the process right now of uploading a lot of mini videos that are educational on very specific insurance topics to our YouTube channel. So things like the bundling myth, It is a myth. People assume immediately that, when you hear the word bundling, that means it's cheaper. And that's not necessarily the case. Particularly for us, we do offer some options for bundling, but what we focus on is trying to go out and find the best product for the best price. And a lot of times, an auto policy with one carrier and a home policy with another carrier, if it is researched correctly, you will end up paying less using two different companies than you would using one company.
Right. I think you're right. That is a myth. And I do think whether it's State Farm or some of your other competitors, Allstate, they always talk about, well, I've been there 30 years. I'm not moving it. They've bundled it and they've given me a better deal. But you don't know that until you shop, right? And find potentially different policies for different assets.
You don't. And one of the things that I say frequently when I speak to groups about our insurance products is that, it can be a win-win. If you reach out to us and you get a quote, you're going to learn one of two things. You're going to learn that based on the coverage that you need and what you currently have and the pricing, that you need to stay where you are, or you'll find out that you could do better if you bought a policy from Armed Forces Insurance. So it's a win-win. It takes a little bit of time to get a quote, but you owe yourself that opportunity to find possibly better coverage for the same amount of money that you're currently paying.
Right. We're winding down. I don't like to say that because I'm enjoying this conversation with Lori. So we talked over the years, Lori, too, about how excited you are when you took over the Military Spouse of the Year program, which Jodi and I both are big fans of the program. And so tell our audience about the program, what it has meant to Armed Forces Insurance for when you first got into the program, and how has the recognition of spouses in all branches of service impacted their lives upon hearing the news that they were recipients of the accolade. I think you've got a lot to say about that.
I do. The Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year program is very near and dear to my heart. Having been a military spouse myself, my dad served in the National Guard during the Vietnam era and thankfully did not have to deploy. But one of my sisters and brother-in-law were lifelong members of the Big Red One.
Fort Riley, yeah.
Yeah, they retired. Their last duty station was at Fort Benning, Georgia, and they loved it down there so much they retired down there. And being raised in Leavenworth, too, I had a lot of military friends growing up, and my career in one way or another, interestingly enough, has always somehow crossed paths with the military. So, having an opportunity to be involved in a program that literally changes lives has been amazing. We started out as the sponsor. We were the title sponsor for about 9 years. And I got so close to the community, and built individual relationships with a lot of the base winners, the branch winners, and the overall winners. And they would come to me and say, Lori, we really want to make this program more than just 1 week of activities. We call it MSOI week in Washington, D.C. And, the only way that I could see that we could contribute in a greater way would be for us to actually, be the program owner, and be able to grow it into something that would be even more beneficial for the spouses. So the program recognizes military spouse sacrifice. Military families sacrifice in a lot of different ways that civilians wouldn't even begin to understand. And the amazing thing about our spouses, we hear the word resilient in the military community a lot, but they do so much more than just survive. Mm-hmm. They thrive. And, it's almost like they do the most when they're under pressure. And, they are impacted by things to the point that really influences them to want to make a difference, want to pay it forward so that the spouses upcoming behind them have a better life, have a better situations, don't have to deal with some of the hardships that they've had to deal with. Things like, services for special needs children. We have a lot of military spouses that advocate for the same services that civilian kids get. Military children should get the same services as well. And so we have military spouses in the program that lobby on Capitol Hill to have changes made to spouse employment practices, to have education practices changed for military spouses. So this recently happened prior to this new legislation. A military spouse who was a teacher or, let's say, a nurse who had to be licensed in the state that they worked in. Imagine PCSing 10 times in your career and having to get relicensed every single time. Imagine trying to get a bachelor's degree and having to start over because the college that you attended in one state, those credits wouldn't transfer to another college in a different state. Those are just a few examples of some of the initiatives that this group does. But they have, through the years, grown to have a reputation for being the movers and shakers in the military spouse community. And I couldn't be more proud of them. Their accomplishments get recognized with national media. Every year, our overall winner ends up getting invited to Newsmax to appear on Newsmax for an interview, or the Today Show, Good Morning America. They've been on CNN. And the program starts with nominations. I want to make sure that your listeners know that anyone can make a nomination, whether you're in the military community or not. And the website that you go to when nominations open, and this year they will be opening in early December, is msoy.afi.org.
That's great. That's good information to pass on.
And once those nominations come in, then there is a popular vote that occurs. From the popular vote, then the base winners are selected. So it's possible, if there are nominations from every installation, that every installation could actually have a base winner representing that base.
Wow.
That sounds like a challenge to our audience.
It does.
Yes, I like that.
We would love to have more nominations. Military spouses are very humble too. So, to be nominated and then awarded, in the top 21 level, which is the top 3 of each branch of service, and then make it to the branch level where you're the branch winner and then potentially the overall winner. They're just so humble about the whole thing. And there's just no other person on the face of this earth that I believe deserves more credit and recognition than our military spouses.
Was this the first year you recognized a spouse in the Space Force, or have you done that for a couple of years?
No, actually, this was the first year. And lo and behold, she's a firecracker out there advocating for military service members and family members to exercise their right to vote. That is her advocacy.
Nice.
Sarah Strider is the Space Force Spouse of the Year and also is the overall Armed Forces Insurance Military Spouse of the Year for 2022.
Awesome. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you probably went to the Throwback Throwdown a few weeks ago. Is that right?
That's right. We have a great relationship with KFKF and Steel City Media. And, they're very patriotic. And Dale Carter and I go back quite a ways.
Did you go to high school with Dale?
No, I did not go to high school with Dale, but we struck up a friendship and have been friends for several years. We do some radio advertising with them. And he asked one time if I would be willing to collaborate with him on how we could make the Throwback Throwdown event more patriotic.
Nice.
They typically try to have that concert as close to the 9/11 anniversary as possible. Mm-hmm. And it's the ending of what they call the Summer of Freedom, which is what we sponsor. And that's just kind of an overarching theme that they have, sprinkled into their concert series that happens throughout the summer.
And I've attended the Throwback a couple years ago too. But Sawyer Brown, Neil McCoy, and Bellamy Brothers were there this year, right, on September 9th?
They were, and I had the pleasure of bringing our branch winners out on the stage so that the audience could meet them and recognize them.
I love that moment. That's a great moment.
Oh, it was amazing. They always get a standing ovation, very well deserved. And, I feel like the proud mama every time I bring them out at something like that. It's just, I love to be able to honor them in those ways.
And even the local press that these winners get, as you search the internet, you'll see.
Oh, yeah.
The press that they get is amazing. And the spotlight and the focus on their achievements and winning that award is just priceless.
It is in more ways than you might even realize, Tom. I could tell you story after story about how a base winner leveraged their title. We always tell them to make sure that they add it to their resume for sure. And we had one Navy base winner who met someone with Hiring Our Heroes, which is the U.S. Chambers, one of the U.S. Chambers program, met someone from Hiring Our Heroes at an MSOI event, kept in contact, ended up applying for a job, moved from San Diego to Washington, D.C. when they got the job, stayed with Hiring Our Heroes in a low-level management capacity, continued to do great work for them, and is now the director over all of their military spouse programs. And every time Brian Alvarado has a microphone in front of him, he always gives credit back to the Military Spouse of the Year program, because as far as he's concerned, none of that would have ever happened had he not made the connections through the program. And like I said, that's one story. I could keep you guys on here for another 2 hours telling you more stories like that. It's just, so it really is beyond recognition. It's ended up evolving into a tool for our military spouses, to help get the word out about their platforms, but also to help them professionally.
That's fantastic. I love that. We've talked about a lot of different things and covered a lot of ground. I love that we are ending on that topic. I can tell you, I think you said you feel like they're a proud mom when you bring them out on the stage. I hear that in your voice, and I love that. So, I thank you for your time, for grabbing onto that program and really just driving it from an ownership standpoint. I would love to hear the rest of those stories. We may have to have you back just to do a story. Yeah. Podcast of stories.
Man, we do thank her. And you think it's just a joke? Just one joke. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Better be a quick little joke.
Okay. So why couldn't the baker get any insurance? The baker, not the banker.
The baker. I don't know, Tom. Why?
Because she was high risk. See?
That's terrible.
Pretty cute, actually.
Well, thank you for your courtesy laugh.
Lori. See,
it does work every once in a while.
You're not supposed to laugh, Lori.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but you know what? We have a weekly stand-up meeting where we give insurance jokes, and no one has said that one. I thought maybe I might know the joke you were going to say. No one has used that joke, so I'm going to make sure that I share that this week.
I think he spends a lot more time during the day looking for these jokes than he should.
Doing my job. Yeah. So, but the other one was I just have to do it. My pet mouse wasn't able to insure his car because apparently they didn't offer rodent insurance. Now, I have to end on that because your laugh is getting weaker and weaker. So I'm just ending on that one.
I couldn't even fake laugh on that one. I'm sorry.
Rodent. Yeah. You take that with you.
You can say it again and again. It doesn't get funnier.
I think we're at the end now, aren't we? Let's do the military minute. So, but thank you, Lori.
Bless you, Lori, for putting up with Tom's jokes. And more importantly, for being here with us today. If you would hang with us for just another minute, we want to do our military minute trivia game.
What is we have a military minute?
We do.
All right, let's do it.
Every single time.
I keep forgetting.
So last week's question, or last podcast episode, I should say, the question was, what was the first lesson Lieutenant Dan told Forrest Gump and Bubba regarding GI gear that can be the difference between a live grunt and a dead grunt?
But you knew the answer.
Well, I thought I did. This is a little different. So I would have guessed.
Does Lori know the answer?
Do you know the answer, Lori?
I don't. I was thinking I might because I've seen that movie a gazillion times.
So when I had my epiphany during that podcast and thought I knew, I was going to say boots, but the answer is actually socks. So still related to feet. Yep. So I'm going to count it as a win. So hopefully somebody posted that answer on our social media when we dropped that last podcast. And shifting gears to this week's Military Minute, and this one nobody can answer, so nobody jump in. But the question is about AFI, of course.
Yep.
And you're going to have to do a little research because we have not talked about this on this podcast. So you're going to have to probably go to their website at www.afi.org.
What is it again?
It's hard to say.
Do it again.
www.afi.org.
Okay.
All right. And find out, does AFI insure classic and antique cars? Inquiring minds want to know.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes. So watch for our Facebook and Instagram posts dropping this episode and make sure you comment your answer for a chance to win $50 for you, $50 for a charity of your choice. And we'll see if you're the lucky winner.
Don't you love giving money to charity?
I just like giving
That's
money.
part of Lori's life too. So we could do it all day long. So if you've enjoyed today's episode, go out to afbank.com and subscribe to the show. Also, make sure you rate us, leave us a comment, even if it's a negative comment about Jodi, on your favorite podcast platform, such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And guess what? Guess what? You know where else they can listen to a podcast?
I'm not talking to you anymore.
It's YouTube. Can you imagine? We are now on YouTube.
Yes.
So all episodes are available and will be available going forward on YouTube. So I'm excited to be able to offer that as a way for people to listen to Lori Simmons from Armed Forces Insurance. Thank you very, very much for joining us today, Lori.
Thank you both.
Copyright 2022 Armed Forces Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All non-Armed Forces Bank owned apps, websites, company names, and product names are trademarks or registered trademarks of their respective owners. Their mention does not imply any affiliation with or endorsement by Armed Forces Bank of them or their products and services. They are merely used as examples of the many available apps, companies, and websites that offer similar services. Before using any app or website, you should carefully review the terms of use, data collection, and privacy policy. Apps may have an initial cost or in-application purchase features. This information is general in nature and is not intended to be legal, tax, or financial advice. Although Armed Forces Bank believes this information to be accurate, it cannot ensure that it could change. Statements or opinions of individuals referenced herein are their own, not Armed Forces Bank. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation and respective governing bodies for applicable laws, such as irs.gov for current tax law. Armed Forces Bank, the Armed Forces Bank logo, and the Militarily Speaking logo are registered trademarks of Armed Forces Bank.